Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced, and this game is from FIDE Women's World Cup Final, and this game is played between, with the white pieces we have Koneru Humpy, and with the black pieces we have Divya Deshmukh. So definitely it's going to be one hell of a game. We have three draws. This is the fourth game, and one of them has to win this game. Otherwise, the tie breaks could continue to go on into short time formats, and it's going to be very much difficult for Divya to beat Koneru Humpy in short time formats because she's much more experienced than her. So it's going to be one hell of a ride, and this is going to be a grind, an absolute grind. So I'm sure you're going to love it. It's an end game beast game, and you're absolutely going to adore this. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Koneru starts with d4, we have d5, and we have c4, but just e6. Knight to f3, knight to f6, we have queen's gambit decline, g3, d captures, bishop to g2, and here going for bishop to b4 check. Bishop to d2, a5, and here just queen to c2. Bishop caps on d2, knight captures, b5, just immediately going for, just developing those pawns, and we have a4, c6, and here just b3. And you try and want to keep the pawn, but you cannot keep the pawn as you very well know. C captures, knight captures, and here just castles by black, castles by white, bishop to a6, and here just going for this knight to c5, attacking the bishop. We have b captures, knight caps on a6, rook captures, and here just rook caps on a4. We have knight bd7, just developing those pieces, rook f to a1, and queen to b6. And here just knight to d2, and here rook f to a8, and here there are a lot of moves you can play. You can also go for this e4, and here after queen to d8, you'll play just moves back, and you could just keep on repeating the moves, and it's going to be a draw because the position is an absolute dead draw. Because if now here rook f to e8, but e3, but you don't want to give up too much, because here you could also win the game because white has some initiative, but you have to be very much careful. And here knight to d5, but now just going for this knight to c4, attacking the queen. Queen moves, and we have queen to d2. Here knight 5 to b6, and we have this knight captures, queen captures, and here queen to c3. And here knight to f6. Knight would very much enjoy the square d6 d5 square, because the knight is going to be an absolute monster there. But here just rook to c1, and here just knight to d5 is planned, but now you have to part ways with your light squared bishop. Knight captures, we have e captures, trying to create some imbalance in this position, because you want to push those pawns and maybe try and get the win. But now here rook a to c1, just h6, here king to g2, queen to b5, and here now going for this h3, and here queen to b6, rook 1 to a2, queen to c7, just queen to c5. Here Koneru Humpy was very much down on the clock. She was like 1 minute, while Divya Deshmukh was on 5 minutes. So it's going to be very much difficult, and both of these players just trying to play some moves, trying to get some times on their clocks. And here queen to a7, now queen to c3, queen to b6, and here just rook to b2, attacking the queen. Queen moves, rook a to b2, rook b to a2, and here just h5, and here h4, not allowing those pawns to be pushed, because you don't want an attack or any kind of chance you don't want to give to Divya, because if that is there, she's going to take it, and it's going to get very much difficult from there. Just g6, but here rook to a1, and queen to b6, now trying something, but just king to g1, and here king to g7, king to g2, queen to d8. Just both players are repeating moves. Might seem like a draw, but it is mostly a draw. But you never know where your opportunity presents itself, because queen to c5, and here rook 8 to a7, rook 1 to a2, rook to 8, rook to a1, and queen to c7. And here you could also go for this queen to c3, but after king to g8 and queen to c5, you'll mostly see that queen to d8, rook 1 to a3, queen to c7, and rook to a2. It's most likely going to be a draw. But here just e4 was played. You have to try and note something. So Koneru Humpy does it herself. He goes for e4, and here d captures, but just d5, just pushing those pawns. We have queen to e5, but now rook to d1, and here c captures, but now here rook captures, and Humpy is down a pawn. Humpy is down a pawn, but she has some initiative. So let's see if he's able to convert into a win or not. Queen to e8, but now here queen to d4 check, king to g8, rook to e5, and now just winning back that pawn. Queen to c6, we have queen caps on e4, queen to e4 check, rook captures, and here just going for this rook to f6. We have rook to e5, rook to f5, just defending that, but rook captures, g captures, and here king to f3. Now these pawns are going to be very much difficult, but now you can just defend it, and there is not much in this position. This position is mostly going to be a draw. But here, the only move, king to g7, king to f4, and here just king to g6, defending those pawns. And we have this king to e5, Koneru Humpy trying to, infiltrate the position in black's camp, but rook to a6. And here, king to d5, but just f4. And the only way that you have to find out in this position for white to hold in this position is you have to play king to e4. Yes, allow these captures, and yes, you will be up a pawn temporarily, but the game is still going to be a draw, because here after f captures, rook to e6 check, king to d4, rook to d6 check, king to e4, f5. Now you go for this king to f4, and here after rook to d5, now you play this rook to c4. Now rook to d6, rook to a4, rook to a6, king to f3, and here king to f7, king to g2, uh, here just f4, rook caps on f4. Now you can do that because that comes with a check. And here king to e6, but just now again rook to a4. But here after f4, for some reason Koneru Humpy decided it was okay to go for rook captures on f4. But this just completely blunders the game. And I'm gonna ask you to pause the video and try and find out the only move for black that wins the game on the spot in this position. So have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find the move, and the move is this beautiful a4. Yes, push that pawn because that's going to be completely winning. Here rook to b4 was tried, a3, but here rook to b1. Here king to f5, but just f3, thinking that king cannot get in this position. But here just a2, but now here rook to a1, rook to a3. Now this is the move that I think Happy missed. That you could just cobble up those pawns, and there's nothing that White can do about it. So Koneru, she tried here to go other way around and capture those pawns. So she played king to d4, f6, king to d5, and here rook to a4, king to d6, just going all against the board and trying to capture those pawns. But here rook to a5, and here king to e7, rook to a6, king to d7, rook king to e5, and here just g4. And here the best move in this position to win the game right on the spot is this beautiful king to f4. Just getting the king, and this pawn is mostly going to fall, but here you get this g captures, but now you play f5, and here h6, but now you just play rook caps on h6, rook caps on a2, king captures, and here rook to d2, but now just f4, rook to d4, rook caps on h4, and here now going for this king to d6, but this king to g3, and you're going to push this pawn, and it's going to be a completely winning game. But here Divya tried and went for this rook to a7 check, but now king to c6, and now you can see that that bar just immediately shot up. Issue is after king to c6, now the same idea does not work. Here king to f4 was played, but this just completely blunders the game for Divya, and Humpy just needs to find the correct order of moves, because here after g captures, same idea, but now just king caps on f3. But now you have this beautiful move, which is king to d5, and now you understand the problem, because here f5, you think you can just push those pawns and it's going to be a complete victory, but that's not how the game works, because here king to e5, but now just f4, h6, and now here after king to g3, rook to g1 check, king moves, and here rook to a1. It seems like the rook cannot do anything. How can it supposed to how is it supposed to stop those two pawns? But the king can, and here f3, but now just king to f4, king to g2, and now finally going for this h7. Now you're gonna have to trade this. So here rook captures with a check, you block. But the issue is this pawn is now pinned. You're gonna have to move the king. If you move the king here, I can just capture it. If you move the king here, then just king move, then if let's say I play a couple of moves and then I try to win the game, but now this checks, and you are thinking, well, you're just a complete rook up. How is this a draw? Because king is a bit too far away. Now I just push, and if you try to get to my pawns, just a few more moves, you're gonna see that, sorry, not that obviously, but here just king moves, and here the rook moves, and you're going to see that it's just completely impossible for black to stop the pawn without sacrificing the rook. So it's going to be a draw, and that's what, unfortunately for Humpy, she missed it. She played h6 right away, and h6 right away just does not work. And here f5, but now just king to d5, f4, now h7, and h7 just completely blunders the game, because rook captures on a2, king to g3, and here rook to a8, rook caps on h4, king to g8, and here rook to g4, and now rook to f8, f3 was played, king to e5, but now just f2, and here rook to f7 was tried, but king to g2, and it was on this move, on move 75, that Koneru Humpy resigned the game. And with that, the rising star from India, Divya Deshmukh, and she gets the GM title. She gets the FIDE World Women's Cup title, and she wins this spectacular game in an insane grind in 75 moves. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned for that, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you all.